Dumb Thoughts, Smart Talks podcast with Benjamin.
And Cassidy. And today we're talking about the schooling system here in the U.S.
Oh, spicy situation
I
here.
know. I feel like it's gone downhill.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Well, both of my sisters are teachers, so
Right.
that, especially my oldest sister who teaches at an elementary school, she's like, all they do is test these kids. They don't actually get time to learn because they're being taught how to take a test.
Right.
And she's even mentioned that like second graders are stress bombing before these tests. And I'm like, and of course I jokingly said no stress bombing till college, but you shouldn't be stress bombing over school ever, if we're being honest.
Realistically, no.
Yeah.
There should be no reason why someone, especially in second grade.
Yeah. Second grade, you should be practicing addition and subtraction and being a king at the monkey bars.
Right. I'm a little concerned. I understand why they're doing that though, and it's mainly because, like we said, the school system's going downhill.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting more and more on kids at a younger age because more and more people, as they get to the high school level, can't do basic arithmetic or reading.
Yeah. I remember in high school when I still rode the bus, there were two little girls who were sisters who sat behind me. And I think the youngest sister was in first grade. And she's like, yeah, I can't read yet. And the older sister was like, it's okay. You won't learn to read till you're in third grade. I remember learning to read in kindergarten. At least like the basics.
Right. You typically learn to read around first grade, like to start to actually read, and then it just slowly, your comprehension of language gets better over the years. By the time you're in middle school, as you're finishing up, you should be reading on a high school level without question.
I just realized I was fiddling with the hair bow and they could hear that. Sorry.
It's okay.
I like to fidget.
We know.
Yeah. Should have brought my fidget cube.
Indeed. But no, so it's come down to a point where, because people are so inept and unprepared when they get to high school and the college level, that school systems are trying to find a workaround rather than just keeping the students who are failing behind and making sure they understand the material and can actually perform basic tasks for that grade level. They're just pushing them forward.
Yeah, no child left behind.
Right. And when you do that, you'll get to a point where you have a student who can't do basic algebra, who can't read on a middle school or high school level, which almost every job requires you to be able to read on at least a high school level.
Yeah.
Right? And they can't do any kind of basic writing.
Yeah, that's true. Like in college, our English 101 and 102 was all about how to write a paper, which
Right.
I guess because I was in advanced courses, AP classes, I was like, how do people not know how to do this?
Same. Like I'll never forget when I took my AP Lit and Lang class and AP Writing, or I think it was AP Writing. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I got a 40 on my first paper I ever submitted. And she docked me for everything. My whole paper looked red, right?
Yeah.
But after the course of 1 year, I was getting 80s to 90s on all the papers that I submitted to her. Now, granted, she was looking for things, for rules that we broke that we didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
Right? But she was doing that to, teach us, hey, this is something you should think about. And then when I got to college, I never made below a 95 or 96 on any of my English papers.
Yeah. My AP Lit teacher had us diagram sentences. That way we knew what we were doing and we would make sure every sentence was grammatically correct.
Right. I mean, and it's just basic things like that prepare you to be able to do writing, reading.
Fighting a yawn?
Yeah, fighting. Sorry.
And that's also true with math, like, because we had math 121 together.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did not understand basic algebra.
Yeah, it's scary to me to think that you've made it all the way to college and you still can't do an x plus 1 equals what?
Yeah.
Or like x plus 1 equals 5, right? And you can't figure out what that means, like how to solve for x. That's problematic.
It really is.
Right? And it's really scary when you think about it. It's someone in college who's trying to learn how to do basic algebra for the first time, and they want to go into a field that requires them to take care of people, or
yeah, a lot of them were nursing majors, which is terrifying to me.
like not the crap on the nurses.
There's like nothing wrong with nurses. I'm sure they learned what they needed to learn, and they are they can do
But
what they
it
need to
is
do.
concerning that you want to be a nurse and you can't do basic algebra by the time you hit college,
Yeah.
right? But that goes back to our point. They're passing people along who can't do the basics,
Yeah.
right? No one, not everyone has to take AP classes. Not
Oh,
everyone has to
no.
take dual credit. No one like all that honors. You don't even have to take into that. You could take CP only your entire time through high school, and you should still have a basic understanding of basic maths and basic English.
Because it's college prep.
Right.
Why are we being prepped for college only to be taught what we need to know in college and then we feel like we're drowning because we're behind?
Exactly. So it all stems from when we're younger.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said initially, kids are getting a lot more stress put on them because the schooling system doesn't want them to fail. But if you continue to pass people along
But
who
the schooling
aren't
system is failing them.
right, and if you continue to pass people along without making sure they're adequately prepared or adequately have the knowledge or skill set required to move on to the next level, you are doing them a disservice and you're only causing the problem to recirculate.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was fourth grade where we were learning multiplication and division. They taught us so many different ways to do multiplying and dividing that when we got, I think, to sixth grade, they're like, why are you drawing a box to multiply? Why are you drawing a hangman symbol to divide things?
Right. My math teachers didn't let us do that at all. We got uh I remember this. We did something called 60-second multiplication
Yeah, like we did the
or
basic
minute
stuff.
multiplication. That's what
Yeah.
it was. And we'd get 100 multiplication problems, and we
Did
had
you
to
in a minute?
solve them as many as we could in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And the more
I
you
completed the
solve,
pages.
yeah, I would too. Like the first time I did it, I was like, oh, I don't know any of these. And then after the third time I did it, I could answer all 100 in that 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. And you would think, wow, that's pretty impressive for a kid. It's like, not really. When it's basic maths going from 0 to 10 and nothing really jumping outside of that range. No, in fact, it went up to 12. That's what it was. Wow, big numbers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so 0 to 12, and it can only be one of those numbers multiplied by a number in that range.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like it was overly difficult.
No.
And it was just a matter of making sure you understood what these numbers meant. And eventually it just became more of a memorization thing rather than actually doing math, because at some point you've already understood how to do the problem, and now you're just memorizing what the answer is.
Yeah, my third grade teacher taught us the multiplication songs.
Uh,
Really?
nah. We were just given a giant table.
She gave us songs. She was awesome.
I'm sure we might have gotten a song. I don't remember.
Well, she also taught us cursive, which they never do that anymore.
We learned how to do the letters in cursive.
Well, the reason I know cursive is because my dad taught me.
Yeah, I don't know cursive at all. Like I can do certain letters in
Like
my
you can do
signature,
yeah.
but that's it,
I
right?
can just straight up copy notes in cursive.
What we were taught when we were taught cursive in
Was
quotations,
how to write your name, sign a check.
it was literally to practice your signature.
Yeah.
Right? And I couldn't do J's for Benjamin, right? As a kid, because a J, when you're looping an N into a J, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, that's kind of difficult. So I just said, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick with Ben. So I can only do half of my name in cursive legitimately. Right? And that's how sad it is, right? I wish I could do cursive. I really do.
Yeah.
It's just, I was not taught how to do it. I was literally taught, all right, this is how you do a cursive A through Z,
Yeah.
and we never touched it again. We spent 1 week on it, and that was it.
Yeah.
We never touched cursive again after that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it just makes you feel ill prepared when you,
Yeah.
because now I'm at a point where I'm like, all right, well, I wish I kind of knew cursive to help speed up writing certain
Oh,
things
yeah.
down, be able to read certain people's handwriting, because some people write in cursive and it's illegible, and some people write in cursive and it's perfectly legible, right? But if you don't understand cursive to a certain degree, you're not going to be able to read it either way.
Yeah, and because you're not picking your pen up, you can write so much faster. Like I could knock some notes out, no problem.
Right. Well, I guess that moves on to our second little bit, though,
Yeah.
about
Standardized testing.
yeah, because I mean, you got to be able to cover all those basics, but
Yeah.
you also have to have some basic competencies before you go into a standardized test before you can even take the test
Yeah.
legitimately.
Like I remember we had, I think it was packed at first and then it was pass. Like it changed names at some point. And we take it at the end of the year every year, and it would just assess what we were doing. That way, the teacher next year would be like, "Okay, hey, you're not as good as math. We can focus on that for you." That's how it was for me growing up.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
Really?
Yeah. So what we had was in middle school, I think it was eighth grade, we had something that was like a state standardized test
Hmm.
to kind of see where we fell in percentiles. I got second overall in the school, and I think it was like the point difference between me and the guy in first was like 1 or 2 points.
Hmm.
And I bring that up because on the scale of where we were at in comparison to the kids, we were in the upper percentile. But when I was taking the standardized test, I didn't know what half of it was anyway.
Oh.
I was guessing on a good chunk of it. And it's not like I understood everything I was looking and reading at because it was a full comprehensive guide of everything we had learned from sixth to eighth grade.
Yeah, and you don't always remember it.
Right. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't remember this, so let me guess here, let me guess here, right? And then by the time we got to high school, in ninth grade, we didn't have anything. We took something called the PSAT,
Hmm.
and it was bull crap.
Yeah, it
And
was. It
um,
was just for college to pick out the special kids. Like
yeah,
the,
and they really put an emphasis on people who did well in the
they really
PSAT,
did.
and the people who did well in the PSAT, it ultimately didn't do any better or worse than the average person did later when they actually went to take the SAT.
Yeah.
So it's like, what was the point of that? But regardless, uh, so we took that in ninth grade, and they're like, "Ah, yes, you've scored high enough to be considered for honors." And it's like, okay, cool. So you would either be taking all honors at that point or stay in with CP. So then, come 10th grade, we took something called the HSAP. I don't know what it stood for. I still to this day don't know what the purpose of
I
it
thought
was.
wasn't the HSAP South Carolina was like this is what you need to graduate.
Maybe.
Because I remember we had something like that and we had to pass it to graduate. And then the next year, I think they abolished it and we had to take another thing.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
okay, then that is what it is.
Yeah.
Because I remember we took it in 10th grade, and me and my friends scored in the upper percentiles,
Yeah.
right? And then they said, "Oh, congratulations, you did well." And I was like, "That was really easy." And they said, "Yeah, this is what you needed to graduate high school." And I said,
Like why am I here for 2 more years if
and
I can
that's what I asked them. I
graduate?
said, "So why do I need to be here for 2 more years if I pass this with flying colors?" And they said, "Well," and I said, "Well."
Why? Because like my high school, like they wouldn't allow just half days for seniors. Like, if you got all your credits, you had to just find more credits. You had to be there all day.
I don't remember what my school did. I didn't have that luxury.
Oh. But because I did AP classes, I was kind of ahead, and I was in AP art, so I was like, if I took another art class to get my stuff done, I won't have to take my art home and I can do whatever I want. So I just took extra art classes because I was able to.
Right. But yeah, so then after that, they got rid of it, like you said.
Yeah.
So I was kind of pissed, and I said, "Well, why'd we take it anyway?" Right? Because this didn't this say I was ready to move on past high school,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking trying to move on quickly at this point, and then said, "Oh no, we got to start prepping you for the ACT and SAT." And I said, "Okay, that's fair. For your college, you want to
Yeah.
have an okay score for that." So what they did to prep us was give us another PSAT and PACT, and then nothing else. That was
Yeah.
all they gave us in preparation for it.
Hmm.
And when we went to take it, they were so surprised that a lot of their students didn't do well.
Because they had nothing else.
Right. It's like, okay, cool. You're teaching us classes for material that we need to know for the SAT and ACT potentially. And you've given us one practice test for each, which are completely different exams. And then you say, go forth and do well.
And my school was a lot more thorough. Let's see. Like I think it was every Monday or Tuesday, or actually depending on the week. Each class you would have like 5 questions of either SAT or ACT, and then we'd spend like the first 10 minutes of class going over why this is correct.
Yeah, we never got anything
Yeah,
of
my
that.
school cared a lot about test scores. Like I think it was my 11th grade year, we were number one in the state for grades.
I'd believe that because my school definitely didn't come anywhere close to that. We didn't get anything of the sort.
Hmm.
And it's kind of surprising to me for a school that was much larger than yours that we didn't have anything close to the level of preparation that y'all had.
Yeah, And my school like had terrible technology.
Right.
Like the
We had,
computers failed all the time. We did not get tablets. We did not get laptops. If you didn't have internet at home, tough luck.
meanwhile, we had all of that and up to date everything,
Hmm.
but we didn't get anything as far as preparation for the next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that kind of ties in though, right? Because if we're not prepared to take these tests, that refers back to the curriculum,
Oh yeah.
what we're being taught, right? And in my opinion, the curriculum is bad.
Yeah.
We're taught basic math and basic English. That's it.
Just and then, like we don't get to learn extra languages until high school where we're like, oh, we don't care.
Right.
Or they only offer Spanish and French. What if I want to learn sign language or German? I don't get those options.
No, I agree. And they do a lot of things at awkward intervals,
They really
right?
do.
And I remember my first official science class wasn't until middle school, right? Where you actually had a sit-in classroom where you learned science and things of that nature. I don't think we did any of that in elementary school.
Mine did.
I don't know if mine did. I can't remember. I remember we talked about science
Yeah.
in loose quotations there, but we never actually had a class that was, okay, this is this because.
Yeah. Well, my elementary school actually, because my school set up K through two, kindergarten through second grade, primary school, 3 through 5, elementary, 6 through 8, middle school, 9 through 12 was high school. So my elementary school, we had our regular teacher, and then we had a science teacher that we would go to a couple times a week.
Yeah, I think when I got put in the gifted and talented program in elementary school, that's when we started covering science,
Mhm.
was in that specific thing once a week when we'd go to it. I don't think we actually covered science anywhere else, right? And I'm referring back to middle school because that's when I actually remember being in a physical classroom with other students learning about science.
Yeah.
So I don't remember that much about my younger age. So
Because I remember, I think it was third grade was kind of more like geology, stuff like that.
yeah, I don't consider that. I know it's a science, but I
Yeah.
don't consider that a
But like it
basis.
was kind of like building blocks up. Like uh fourth grade, I honestly don't remember fourth grade, but fifth grade, I think we started learning like basic physics. Yeah, like we built like cars and stuff, and like we didn't go through like equations or anything, but we kind of discussed, hey, this is how the world works.
We might have
And
done
then
that. Again, I don't remember. Like
yeah, and
as
then
as far as science goes, it's I didn't get my first real taste of science until high school. I know this sounds weird, but bear
yeah,
with me for a second. In middle school, they teach you basic science, right? Where hey, these are equations. This is how you do certain things. This is how you balance an equation. You know, that's where you start learning to do that stuff. As middle school. My first real taste of science didn't happen until ninth grade of high school when went into my introductory biology class.
what?
Yeah, so the curriculum built up for my particular area was not good,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like mine was great compared to yours. Because, like, I think we started doing, like, some biology. Like, I remember learning genetics and Punnett squares in seventh grade. We dissected frogs. Eighth grade, we started doing chemistry. Ninth grade, I went into biology. 10th, chemistry. And then 11th and
We did
12th
Punnett
grade, I
squares in
did,
middle school.
yeah, I did AP courses, 11th and 12th for science.
Yeah, we didn't have any AP until the second half of my high school year,
Oh,
right? Like my ninth and 10th grade year, there was no such thing as AP courses. I mean, there was like one or two, but you had to go to the other school to do them.
um,
And then come 11th grade, they magically got all these AP courses. And then they also told us back when I was in 10th grade, you couldn't take AP or dual credit unless you were an upperclassman. And then when I hit 11th grade, they completely changed that. You can take it whenever you want to.
yeah. My school was like, if you're ready for it, you can do it.
Yeah, mine was not. And initially, and then they were. And then there was a lot of flip flop for my high school, and it was really irritating.
Yeah. I actually surprised a lot of my advisors when I got to college. They're like, how did you get so many credits? Because I already had like 24 credits when I entered college.
Nice.
Yeah, like I could apply to I could get register for classes earlier because I counted as the next year up.
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But it sounds like to me that your school gave you curriculum that was useful.
Yes.
But I would argue that a majority of schools give people useless knowledge.
Oh, they do. Like, my oldest sister is an art teacher who, like, she hasn't taken Spanish since like early years of college, and they're forcing her to teach the kids Spanish.
How?
Like, she only gets an hour with each class once a week, and she has to spend a portion of that hour teaching them Spanish for some reason.
Which she doesn't know.
Yeah, she doesn't know it. So I think what she's doing, she's just teaching, simple words.
I
'Cause,
mean, what else can she
that,
do?
why would that be her job?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't at all.
But I wouldn't consider that useless knowledge. I consider useless knowledge
No, I mean, I consider it useless because she's not qualified to teach it.
that I agree with.
Yeah.
But as far as useless knowledge, what I was referring to was okay, when you get to college, you're typically more or less you should be prepared to be in college.
Should be.
It should be. Um, and as you go through college, you go through 4 years of basic math, basic science, basic English, history, yada 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 for your first year, and then the rest is your major focus.
Yeah.
During that time frame, you learn absolutely nothing that is relevant for the outside world.
Oh, not at all.
Taxes, learn nothing about.
Nothing. I really don't know about taxes.
How to write resumes,
Yeah.
you learn very little, if anything, about. Our majors were a little bit of an exception because we had specific classes that prepared us to do that exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
How to do interviews.
We didn't do interviews. We just did a bunch of presentations.
My major did, but I think we were the only major that did mock interviews for real positions.
I think so.
Right. A majority of the majors at our college or university, I should say, were not prepared to do outside world
No.
things.
Especially since biology, a lot of us kids in biology are planning to become doctors, veterinarians, dentists, like going into upper schools that you need to nail an interview to get in, and we don't know how to do that.
Yeah, a lot of y'all couldn't hold a basic conversation to
No.
kill you.
Especially
Like,
with my social anxiety, I don't look at people's faces.
I know you have a big problem with eye contact,
I do.
right? But
I'm
you're not
putting
the
my eyes
only
away
one.
now.
You're not the only one, right? This is not something that's indicative just to you. It's
Mhm.
a problem amongst a lot of people in college.
Yeah.
There's no interpersonal skills. There's no
Mhm.
interviewing skills. There's no applicant skills. There's no basic skills such as doing taxes, home ec, basic commodities, basic repair. People don't know any of that.
Well, my school had home ec in middle school, but it was you get to sew a football and you get to bake some cookies in school.
Yeah, we didn't have that at all, right? In fact, my high school actually did have a huge home ec course.
Really?
They got rid of it the year before I got there.
Oh my gosh.
And that home ec course, when I say huge, I don't mean as far as class size, which that was the case, but as far as huge, the material they went over.
Yeah.
They taught you how to do basic electrical work, how to replace a socket, how to replace light switches, how to repair basic things, right? How to fix a 2x4, how to do hammer and nails properly, how to use tools, equipment, how to do taxes, how to cook, how to clean. They taught you all of these things at this home ec course,
And they got rid of it.
and they got rid of it.
Yeah.
And college doesn't give you any of that either.
Oh no.
So oftentimes you have a lot of people leaving college that are inept when it comes to living.
Yeah, I lived in a dorm for a year. I had to go outside for a fire alarm because people didn't realize you need to put the water in your cup of noodle.
It's
They might have been stoned though.
I'm not going to toss up any accusations.
Oh no,
All I will say-
we had to go outside a couple more times because there were smoke detectors went off. Just saying.
Okay, you had that experience. I did not. Well, we'll stick with that.
Lucky you.
I know, but no, it's often scary to think that people are so unprepared to live
Hmm.
when they finish college,
Yeah.
let alone when they finish high school.
Oh yeah. Because some people go straight into the workforce after high school, which
Right, and there's no teaching taxes, how to clean, how to cook, how to change tires.
what's
how
a
to,
mortgage? I
right,
don't know what a mortgage is.
And half the time, like, people also need to take loans. People don't know how to take loans. People don't know the process. I mean, there's so many things that they don't teach you that are relevant.
Hmm.
That's not useless compared to the things they do teach you.
Yeah. And like I wasn't introduced to economics until college, and I realized I didn't need that course and I needed to focus on my other stuff, so I dropped it.
All right, we had some class in high school called economics, but it was really just more of a
Wait, that actually that was a lie. I did have economics in high school, but the teacher was 2 years away from retiring, and he just played videos and took a nap.
yeah. Our economics class was more of, hey, this is how money works, and we're like, cool.
We seriously watched Men Who Built America.
Yeah, we watched that too.
Yeah.
But no, our experience of economics was this is a deficit, this is a profit, this is a margin, and that was pretty much it.
I didn't even learn Martin.
Eh, But talking about all this useless information versus relevant information, this is where we need to conclude that, at least in my opinion, we need to reshape the school system.
Oh, we do.
All right, you and I have talked about this a few times, and my opinion still stands that from elementary school through middle school, you do as is. You teach basics, you get a foundation.
But you don't just pass.
No,
If a kid needs a little bit more time, then just hold
right,
them back. Let them learn.
right. I think from elementary school to middle school, you need to build a foundation. You need to teach basics as far as math, reading, English, science, etc.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be a base. You need to have a foundation of everything by the time you finish middle school. From there, you go to high school. My thought process is this: you take an exam, standardized test, which I disagree with, but there are ways around it. One of the
I
few
mean,
ways,
it's a single standardized test, not like multiple every year.
right? It's a single standardized test that has multiple sections. It's not like this is a math section, this is a reading section. No, it's multiple sections.
Hmm.
This is math, this is art, this is history, this is psychology. All of these things spread across a wide plethora, and you score in these categories. Depending on how well you score overall, your advisor at the time can say, hey, I think you should think about doing the college prep track. Or I think you should think about doing the tech prep class or
Yeah.
path, where you get prepared during high school to go into the workforce after you finish.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So,
that's
but
just a guideline. Like if you get college prep, but you're like, yeah, I want to be a chef. Like you go through the tech.
right.
Class. It could
That's
be
just a
either way.
guideline initially, then taking that exam the first time around, right? After 10th grade, you take the same exact exam. And if you do better on it, they'll say, hey, you should think about college prep now. Or, hey, you should still think about tech prep now,
Mhm.
right? But that's just a guideline once again. If you want to go through college prep and you were recommended tech, you can. If you want to do it vice versa, you can, right? It's just a guideline that says we think you would do best if you went this path.
Yeah.
Right? So then once that happens, you now split off into two subsections. You have the college prep class and you have the tech prep class. The tech prep class would start learning trade skills, how to do things like plumbing, electricity, hair, cosmetology.
Welding, stuff like that.
Yeah, all these all these things that are so necessary for America to work, right?
Mhm.
And we need people to fill those jobs,
Yeah.
and they can go right out of high school and get a job in these fields,
Mhm.
right? And they will be set.
Yeah.
And then your college prep kids will start getting courses specifically tailored to what they are wanting to do, right? So then in 10th or in then 11th grade, I think you should take one more exam before you leave high school. And depending on how you do on that exam, determines whether or not they think you should start preparing and diving off into paths such as doctors, lawyers, nursing, a higher education field
Mhm.
versus something that requires just a 4-year degree, like accounting, teaching, or something of that sort, right? It branches you off. Then by the time you get to college, you spend the first year making sure everything is in line with what degree you're pursuing. Then within the second and third year, you should be able to finish your degree and go on to whatever you need to do.
Yeah. I feel like so much of my time was wasted taking 101 courses I didn't need. Like, despite being an AP art, I still had to take Art 101, which was just art history.
Right, and that's my point, right? If you took out all the fluff from a lot of people's degrees,
Hmm.
the amount of time they would have to spend in college gets cut almost in half, right?
Yeah.
So instead of spending 4 years, you could spend two, right? So then you wonder, and then most people ask me, all right, well, what about the last 2 years of college if you're able to finish your degree in those first two, right?
Well, it depends on what you're going to do. Like if you're
Right,
going to
and
enter the
that
workforce, they're preparing you for workforce. If you're going to higher education, like master's, doctorate, what's the name? Professional degree,
mhm.
they prep you for that.
Right. So the third and fourth year would be all about, hey, if you're going into the workforce, here's how to get a resume. Here's how to do job interviews. Here's how to do all these basic things that you need to know before you go in front of an employer.
Mhm.
Whereas the other group, these are the things you need to have in order to be successful when you apply for a graduate program of some sort.
Yeah.
And I think that's in my opinion would solve a lot of issues, and it would cut down on the amount of schooling people need because you'd already be prepared, ready to go a majority of the time within 2 to 3 years instead of the full four. And in addition to that, if you look at the high school side of things, you could even cut off a year or two there just because you're already deviating pathwise.
Yeah.
And so you would have some people, instead of finishing at 18, 19 years old in high school, they'd be finishing at 17. And then in and then college, instead of finishing at 23, 22, 23,
Yeah.
you'd be finishing at 20.
Yeah. Or, not being a doctor until you're like 28, 30.
Yeah, and that's a good example for the medical field. Most people don't become a doctor until they're about 30ish, right? Because most people go into subspecialties that require a little bit of extra training.
Yeah.
Most people apply and get in, I'll say around 23. So 4 year plus threes approximately puts you at 30. Why would you want to be 30 when you could be 26 and still have the same level of education?
Yeah.
Right? But that's just my 2 cents.
Because I understand why medical school takes so long. It needs to be thorough. You need to know your things, but we need to cut out that fluff beforehand.
Right.
Like, why did you take Film 101? You had to pay for those movies, so you had to watch.
Yeah, I had to take a Film 101 class, had to pay for all the films that I had to watch and evaluate, and I was a chemistry major.
Yeah. I was a biology major taking Art 101 with a art history from high school.
Right.
I passed those AP exams, by the way.
But I think we're both in agreement, though, that the
Yeah.
schooling system has major flaws that need to be fixed.
Hmm.
While my solution might not be the be all end all, I think
No.
it's a solution nonetheless.
Yeah, I think it's a step up from what
It's a
we
start.
already have. Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to end it off.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thank everyone for tuning in to the Dumb Thoughts, Smart Talks podcast.
Thanks for